Hi everyone, it's Fiona Edgar. I'm here today to talk about a few major things that are going to be happening soon. We have a lunar eclipse on the 10th of January, and we also have the major astrological event that everyone's been talking about, the Saturn and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. So, lots of things going on. Um, First of all, I'll talk about this eclipse. Eclipses last, the energy of an eclipse lasts for about 6 months. So they are huge, massive events that are really life changing. Major life events happen during eclipse seasons, marriages, deaths, a new job, just something that's really going to change your life. You would need to look at your own personal birth chart to see where the eclipse is falling to figure out exactly where it's going to affect you. So I'll be talking about the eclipse in a general sense, the energies that are going to be present for everyone. It's just going to affect each of you in a slightly different way. Of course, we're seeing global events at the moment that are not, well, they are unusual events, but it's kind of typical of the events that happen on an eclipse. Totally unexpected, not really something that you can predict, but massively life changing. So, as you can see here from this chart, this is the chart for the lunar eclipse. So, a lunar eclipse falls on a full moon. As you can see here, we have the moon in Cancer opposite this Capricorn stellium, this massive stellium in Capricorn. It looks so ominous, lurking there, all nestled together. But these involve some major players in the planets. We've got Pluto and Saturn, Mercury, and of course the Sun. So a lunar eclipse brings an ending to something because this is what a regular full moon will bring us. The full moons are, just a natural cycle of life where something is illuminated to be addressed, and it causes change, and they cause endings. So the moon in Cancer here, it's a very soft moon. It's very emotional, and what it seeks most of all, above anything else, is emotional security. Cancer is a sign that needs to feel secure. They need to have boundaries. They need to feel safe. So what we're seeking here in this lunar eclipse is safety. But with all of this stuff here, we might get safety, but it's going to bring a whole lot of other issues. So we have Pluto here, Pluto opposite the moon, massive power struggles. So on the global level, but also in your personal life as well. Saturn here opposing the moon. That's kind of like a dictatorship. It's like a really strong abuse of power that we can see with these planets. We do have Mercury sitting here as well, so communication is going to be really cold, really difficult, threatening, I guess. Just communication is not going to go well with the energies of this eclipse, and that includes communication between the governments throughout the world. What we're seeing here is a rebalancing of power. So Pluto represents power. Now, this is something that I've noticed and other people have spoken about. Uh, People are obsessed with safety now, and they will reject freedom in order to feel safe, which is such a grave mistake because what happens then? You're giving all of these people power over you to make decisions over your life. What we really need to learn from this eclipse is to let go of fear. This Saturn Pluto conjunction is going to make us feel fearful. And fear is a very strong weapon that has been used against the people for thousands of years. So we need to try and let go of that. yes, things are scary. We can see all kinds of crazy stuff happening in the media. Maybe things are going on in our personal lives that make us feel fearful, especially about the future. It could involve your finances, it could involve your kids, your marriage. Whatever it is, you need to kind of just stop letting your fears run away with you, because what's going to happen is you're going to make decisions that will give you a temporary feeling of safety. But then what you're doing is you're relinquishing all of your power away to someone else. And you really don't want to do that, because if we do that in our personal lives, the energy is going to ripple to the government worldwide, and they already have way too much control over us. So, with this Saturn Pluto conjunction, which happens 2 days after this eclipse, so the eclipse is basically sparking the events of this conjunction, and that's kind of, we're going to see what, the theme of what's going to be happening over the next 6 months. So, we're going to see that energy playing out on the world stage. It could involve the threat or actual wars, economic collapse, because Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn is all about finances and financial power. We're going to see some shifts in power. We're already starting to see that. But this is also giving us an opportunity to shake off any restrictive influences that we have been under. Maybe we have been controlled by something our whole lives. Uh, and it's led to us living in some kind of fear. So it could be a person, it could be a situation. Fear is not good. It's really unhealthy. So this eclipse is going to teach us to stand in our own power, let go of fear, and stop giving our, depending on other people for security. You have to create your own security. You have to create your own safety. But all of these rules and regulations, which are getting ridiculous, they have to go. Hopefully the UK is going to leave the European Union pretty shortly. I hope. So I'm sure this is going to be part of it. The UK is going to break free from the kind of oppressive control that the European Union has over this country. So the Saturn Pluto conjunction, we also have Jupiter here in Capricorn. And one thing I've noticed, I have been studying the charts of different countries to get an idea of how these eclipses and the Great Conjunction is going to affect those countries. And it looks like China is a really major player here. So all of the stuff at the minute about Iran and the General Soleimani, who was a very powerful military leader, he's just been killed. Well, nobody's really mentioned China yet, or else I haven't heard anything. But something that's really big is that China is currently experiencing its Jupiter return. So what that means is that Jupiter is returning to the same place as it was when China was created, the country of China. And this is giving Jupiter and Capricorn returning to that point is going to give China a brand new cycle in terms of abundance, financial abundance, power, and luck. So depending on what is going to happen here with Iran, it's going to really affect China as well, who is actually, the country of China is Iran's largest trading partner. So that's pretty big. Whatever happens in Iran is going to affect China, and I really don't think they're going to sit idly by and let all of their excellent trading deals come to an end. So this guy that was just killed, the military leader, apparently he was responsible for massive amounts of deaths in Iraq and Syria as well. He was just killed in Baghdad. The Trump administration officials said that the general had planned attacks on the US personnel across the Middle East. So that's the reason that they're giving, that they killed this man. The US have claimed that they did not plan to start a war, that they were trying to finish one. because they didn't want these attacks to obviously go ahead. But Iran, they're not really going to sit idly by and do nothing. So let's look at the chart for Iran and see what's going on. I have been talking to an Iranian friend of mine who is an Iranian, and he has told me that General Soleimani was not liked amongst the general Iranian population. It sounds to me like they're pretty sick of the regime. They're really tired of it, and they wanted to go. I mean, they live under very oppressive circumstances. Who in their right minds would want to live that way? So if we look at the chart here for Iran, first of all, we see that Saturn and Pluto are loosely opposing Iran's Jupiter in the 12th. Now, this Jupiter in the 12th house is very secretive. So the Iranians have always been secretive about what they're actually doing. So the first thing that catches my eye is Uranus, which is the planet of sudden change, massive changes, is eventually going to conjunct the midheaven here of this birth chart of Iran. That to me kind of looks like the regime is going to come to an end. I don't really see what else it could be. It's going to conjunct Chiron. Iran's Chiron is in the 9th house of foreign countries. So something big is going to go off. That's not going to be for a while though. Uranus is still only at 2 degrees Taurus. So, but I think that when it reaches that point, the regime is going to be dissolved. As well as that, which isn't really, very nice to look at, but Chiron here in Aries, which has been creating wars. Aries is the sign of war. It's going to make a conjunction here to the sun in Aries. So I would say that is going to bring some massive amounts of violence and wars. And it is going to come to an end. I do have an astrologer friend from Iran, and he's done a lot of really good work on this. And he also agrees that this regime is going to come to an end. Unfortunately, because he lives under the oppressive regime, he can't make his work public. So, but he tells me that the average person that lives there just wants them gone. They are so sick of it, and who can blame them really? So let's see what else is going on. Yeah, so I haven't really studied it in depth. I will probably do a separate video on this because it is so interesting, but Pluto is going to oppose this Jupiter here. There's going to be massive secrets that come out about Iran. A lot of the things are going to be out in the open. Saturn is going to oppose the Jupiter, and it's just going to bring massive changes, I think. And I really do feel that this is going to come to an end. So, again, we're looking at massive amounts of power being, countries are going to rise, countries are going to fall. The great civilization of Babylonia was birthed under a triple conjunction in Capricorn. Just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, it's absolutely massive. It's, when Saturn and Pluto come together, it's not always a very positive power. It can be power that is misused. But this is what's being highlighted, is the misuse of power throughout the world. And actually, some really famous people who were massively wealthy were born under a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, including David Rockefeller, who is one of the richest bankers in the world, and who is a household name. He was born under this conjunction. I'm sure there are others, but that's the only one that I've looked at. So this year is going to be a big one. Lots of people are fearful, especially with the fires that are going on in Australia. People are posting all of these images on Facebook of all the burning animals. Look, it's a really bad idea to do that, because you're just spreading this negative energy. People are actually feeling like they're under some kind of psychic attack at the minute. But a lot of people are creating that by looking at these images and spreading them. There's nothing that we can do at the minute to help those animals or to bring them back. So it's completely pointless. What you should do is avoid the media as much as you can. Avoid, if Facebook is full of disturbing images, then close it down. You don't have to look at it every day. Go back next week, take some time to yourself, and really work on creating that feeling of power and security within yourself. You will never get it from an external source. You will never get it from another person or any kind of government rules or laws. So you need to work on that. Each of us has a responsibility to do that at this time. Okay, so another thing to mention. Okay, so we know that these guys, this Saturn and Pluto here and Jupiter, they're pretty slow movers. Well, Jupiter takes a year to move through the entire birth chart, but Pluto and Saturn are slow. So what's going to happen? Well, in August, Mars goes retrograde in Aries. So Mars in Aries is this kind of super pumped war machine, and when it goes backwards, it's going to be pretty bad. It's going to square Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter, so things are going to be blown out of proportion. There may be a threat of violence, or there may be actual violence. We'll have to see. So this year, yeah, it's going to be a big. There's going to be so many big changes, but this is the way of the world. There have always been civilizations that rise and fall. There's no point in panicking about it. We're all going to be okay no matter what. So we just have to get on with it. Okay, so let's see. What else did I want to say? Yeah, so I've been looking at other charts to see. I looked at a few famous people's charts to see where these eclipses and the Saturn Pluto conjunction are going to fall. And one of the most interesting charts that I looked at was Queen Elizabeth. So Queen Elizabeth of England, she was born on the 21st of April 1926 in London. And if you look here, this is her rising sign. So the rising sign is super important when we look at an astrology chart. And any planet that transits over this point makes a massive impact if it's one of the outer planets, because they bring the massive life changes. Well, this Saturn and Pluto conjunction are going to be going over her ascendant, okay? Her rising sign. They have just popped over, so the conjunction is happening at 22 degrees, and Queen Elizabeth's ascendant is at 21. So that is considered an exact conjunction, because it's 1 degree, okay? They're 1 degree away from her ascendant. So this falls on the cusp of her first house, and whatever role that she has in the world is changing. Whether we hear about it or not, I'm not sure. So this eclipse is going to fall across her 1st and 7th house axis. So this is going to affect her, possibly her marriage, and her personal relationships. So I don't like to, astrology should never be used as fortune telling, ever. But it could be something like something happens to her husband. Maybe she's making plans to step down as queen and hand over her crown. But something huge is going to happen. So like I said, the eclipse energy lasts for about 6 months. So over the next couple of months, we are going to be seeing something huge here with Queen Elizabeth. So let's see what else. Yeah, her Neptune. Neptune is just past making a conjunction to her Venus. So I would say that definitely there's something going on there with her husband, Prince Philip. I don't know what it is. I know that he's pretty old, so he may be ill or something like that. But something is going to end this year in terms of the royal family. And things are never going to be the same again, really. I said this the other night in my Facebook, but this triple conjunction in Capricorn, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, people are going to be talking about this 1,000 years from now, really. it's going to be that big. So it doesn't mean that everything is going to, the sky is going to fall and we're all going to die. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that countries that have been in power and control, whether that be, sometimes the power is hidden, like in China, a lot of their power is hidden. But they are involved in nearly every country. They are going to rise this year. I definitely feel so, and I see that in their chart. Um, so let's take this back down to a personal level again. If we look at this chart here, the lunar eclipse chart, there is a square from Venus to Mars, and that will affect our close personal relationships. Again, Mars is about fighting back. Mars is about taking control, taking your power back. So maybe this could involve a relationship. Maybe you've been feeling unhappy in your partnership and you decide to end it. Or maybe this Venus could be some person from your background or your childhood or an ex that still has some level of control over you. Well, this eclipse is going to end that. Um, and it may not be pretty, but it's something that you need to do. So the North Node is pretty close to the moon here. The North Node is what we really want. The North Node is what we want, and the thing about the North Node is that it, it's sometimes very hard for us to get that. Like wherever the North Node is in your birth chart, that's what you really want. That feels so good to you, but it's not an easy thing for you to accomplish because it's the nodes are karmic, and the South Node is where the kind of story of your past lives, things that you're used to, things that you have mastered. And the North Node feels good to you because it's something new and you feel like you need to accomplish this, but it's always going to be difficult to get there. So what we're seeing here is this North Node conjunct the moon. What we want is to feel emotional safety. We want to be, we want to be comforted. Cancer is the sign of the mother, and we want to be nurtured. But all of this stuff here is just making it so difficult. And what it's really saying is that you will never be able to achieve any kind of emotional security or happiness until you let go or get rid of these restrictive influences that you're allowing in your life. I know so many people that they're so intelligent and they are so full of wisdom, but they let themselves be manipulated or they let themselves be pushed around by, I don't know, their husband or their kids, ex-wives, ex-husbands, bosses. This is the time where you get rid of those people, or you at least cultivate firmer boundaries. We all need to have strong boundaries. So it's about finding the balance of strong boundaries, but still remaining emotionally open. You don't have to be a tyrant or a bully, or you don't have to be nasty. You can just find a balance between these two issues and things will get much better. We are also seeing, this is such an oppressive influence, the Saturn Pluto conjunction, and we are seeing a lot of oppression in the Western world. And I'm not talking about, I'm not really. What I'm saying is that there are so many people that are trying to tell us how to think, how to behave. You can't say this. You can't be proud of your ancestors if you come from Europe. You have to have this certain degree of shame that you live with because you have white skin. Like, that is so ridiculous. This is just oppression and control, and we really need to stop that. So that was my analysis of the eclipse and Saturn and Pluto coming together. I hope that was helpful. Feel free to shoot me some questions if you have any. You can check out my website, which is www.fionaedgar.com, if you would like to book a private reading. I'm also teaching some students. You can check out my astrology courses on my website. I'm actually on unslave.com with Michael and David on the 9th of January, and I'll be giving a more complete forecast of the year ahead. So don't forget to tune into that. But that's it for now. Bye, guys, and I'll be back again soon.